Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Little. I thought I would record while I'm playing online for a little bit. I actually just busted from the $2,000 buy-in tournament at the European Poker Tour event here in Prague, and I got home just in time to get in some online games. Looks like I'm already busting from some of them. The tournament in Prague, the 2000, waiting for money to get to me on Full Tilt because they have a $600 tournament I want to play. It actually went pretty good. There was one spot today where I had a flush draw raise with ace 10 of clubs, and a tight aggressive guy called on the button, and we were both fairly deep. It came queen jack 3 or queen jack 5, two clubs. I bet he called. Turn was another club, which was fantastic. So I bet again, and he called, and the river was another jack. So now the board is paired, so obviously I don't have the nuts anymore. I then decided to bet 16,000 into a roughly 20,000 chip pot, so a pretty sizable bet. And he went all in for about 50,000 more. And, you know, I had the nut flush, but at the same time, I could look at this kid and tell that he was pretty happy with his hand. So I decided to make the fold, and I actually talked to him later, and he had pocket queens. So he was slow playing pre-flop, flop top set, and then had me set up nicely, but luckily I folded. So that was pretty sweet. Just want to make sure I have all my games situated like I like them. Whenever I'm playing online, I like to have my turbos in the top left and then my more important stuff towards the bottom. So we have the Sunday Million here in the bottom. And bigger 55, also somewhat significant. Bigger 162, also significant. And then I try to put the turbos towards the top. And then you'll see that usually, not always, but usually that'll end up to where you have your deeper stacks in the bottom, your more middle stacks in the middle, which is what these two are. These are going to be, you see, they're $11 tournaments, so they're a little bit faster than these other ones. Then up here I have the turbos. So that's usually how I set up my online games. And then since Full Tilt doesn't work, or doesn't cooperate with the way that PokerStars pops up the newest table in front, I usually put Full Tilt over here in this section of the screen, the top right-hand corner. And then if I want to play some sort of Zoom poker or something, I'll put it in the bottom right-hand corner. But I just got home. I ran here from the casino pretty much. I'm staying in an apartment not too far away. And hopped in some games. I'll just go ahead and raise this. I was going to say I would normally raise this every time, but this player seems to be fairly loose and aggressive. Just looking at his stats, 24-17 over 320 hands is fairly loose and aggressive, but his 3-bet number is relatively small, so I don't really mind raising that. There was also a $200 tournament I played on Full Tilt as soon as I got home, and I busted it on the first hand. I had King 10 against Queen Jack all in pre-flop, and I lost that one. But yeah, so anyways, after I folded that hand in the $2,000 tournament, or 2,000 euro tournament, I was kind of unhappy, but I made the fold and I continued playing good poker. I had something like 25 big blinds left and I didn't lose my mind. I stayed sane and tried to play my best. And I ended up taking 13th place. Whenever I made that big fold, there were, I don't know, maybe 60 people left. So from there, I ended up doing pretty well. I think I cashed for 9,000 euros, which is great. Towards the end of the day, I lost two flips, and then I got it all in with pocket eights against ace 4. So I lost all three of those to bust me. So anytime that happens, I'm not really too unhappy. You have to accept that whenever you play tournament poker, quite often things are, you're going to lose flips. That's just what's going to happen. And you can't be too unhappy about that. So yeah, now it's online poker. So far I've played, I think, 4 or 5 live tournaments here, and I've made 2 pretty deep runs. I took 5th in the 2,000 euro half Omaha, half Hold'em event. No limit and pot limit, not limit variety. So that was good. And yeah, tomorrow is the 10,000 euro high roller. So that should always be a fun one. My internet's actually not cooperating. It's going a little bit slow. I don't know if you guys can tell that. I can tell that. And that is kind of scary. Man, Full Tilt Poker is not getting my money to it. I imagine this late register is going to end pretty soon, so I really want to make sure I get in that. So yeah, that's that. I'm excited about the tournament. The 10,000 euro tournament I think is one of the last ones here. I believe there is the last day is always a turbo day, which I love. It's sort of interesting. I usually tend to room with Shannon Shore, and he actually has won two of them, and I have won one of them. So it's pretty cool that we've done so well in these silly six-handed turbo events. I actually do not know what happened in this hand. Sometimes this happens. Whenever I'm talking and whatnot, I have no clue what the action was. I'm thinking this guy raised pre-flop, but I don't really know how he would have raised pre-flop. Usually you can look and tell. Like, I mean, in this spot, he has the button, so I assumed he raised pre-flop. But it's kind of weird that I would just call this, but, you know, whatever. Quite often whenever I'm playing online, I'll just sort of wake up and be at a table and have no clue how I really got there. It's obviously a terrible river for me. I think I'm probably going to check fold this river if he bets. Here, raising continuation bet. I'll go ahead and continue betting on a king turn and try to get him off of most of his range. If he calls again, I will probably give up the river. I made a sizable bet on the turn to hopefully get him off of most of his stuff on the turn. I could have made a smaller bet on the turn with the intention of shoving the river. Well, I guess I'm going to have to shove this river if he checks. It's about the best river to bluff. Maybe it's not. I guess it's a pretty good river to bluff. I pretty much have to. He could easily have ace, ace jack, ace queen. He could have random queen, random jack. Seems like a pretty standard shove spot. Of course, he could have the 10 too. I don't think that's impossible. Pretty easy for the guy to have the 10 as well. But whenever he checks in that scenario, it's more likely that I have it than he has it. So I need to continue bluffing. And, you know, sometimes he's going to call here, and I don't think you can be too unhappy when he calls. But he does fold, so that's fantastic. Here, raise continuation bets. I'll just go ahead and, will I continue betting? Sort of a bad turn for me. He did check call the flop. That makes me think he has some sort of pair. And here, I'll just fold. Anytime you turn equity like this, it's always a good spot to bet. So here, I'll just replay this one. He raised, I called. I like call, I like 3-bet, it doesn't really matter. When he checks the flop, I definitely need to bet this. This is way better from my range than it is for his. And then on the turn's another card that's just better for mine than it is for his. Or better for my range. There's a lot of spots, especially in online poker, where you're playing your range versus your opponent's range. You're not really playing your hand, you're playing more so of your range. And in scenarios like that, you definitely want to keep betting. And that's definitely a spot that's better for my range than my opponent's. It's kind of brutal that Full Tilt Poker is not sending me the money. Whenever you're playing on stars, you can transfer the money to Full Tilt, and normally it doesn't take too long, but today it's taking a little bit of time. But yeah, so after the 10K, I'm gonna play whatever else there is. Actually, let me look. I keep everything in my phone. Let's see what we got. Yes, I will bet this hand first. Let's see. So we have a 10K tomorrow. Then the next day, also tomorrow is a 2,000 bounty tournament that hopefully I don't get to play. Then the next day is a 4x4, whatever that means. It's a 4,200 euro 4x4 tournament at 2 p.m. I have no clue what that means. And then the next day are the bounty or the turbo tournaments. So really only 3 days left. This trip's almost over. It's been a pretty fun trip. I've made a point to maintain sanity while I've been out here. I think that's something I've been struggling with. Not necessarily struggling with, but something I've just become more and more aware of that I could be doing better. I probably have the mindset stuff as good as most people possibly do, but at the same time, there's always room for improvement. And I definitely recognize there is room for me to improve. So I've been not drinking. I've been working out. I've actually been doing pretty good getting to the gym most days. I didn't go today because I had to wake up super early to play the tournament. But I've been doing pretty good with that. European Poker Tour events are actually easy in that manner because a lot of the tournaments start at something like 2 or 3 p.m. Whenever you play until midnight, it's kind of hard to get up and go to the gym at 9 a.m. or something like that. But it's not so hard to get up at noon. So I actually do like EPT events for that reason. This guy's raising under the gun or second position. I think I'm going to call with this. I could also re-raise and just get it in, but I'm a big fan of calling out of position in spots like this. I don't think you have to just blindly re-raise and get it in, even online. Also, this guy is somewhat active, but we only have 13 hands on him, so it doesn't matter. This is a board I'm not just going to check fold on, though. I'm probably going to check call one time to see what develops. Of course, he just could have ace king or something, or he could have a random queen jack and decide to barrel me. That is going to happen, and I'm okay with that. I think that quite often we're just going to get a showdown, or we're going to improve on the turn, and we'll be able to play reasonably well. I'm not a big fan of bluffing in this spot if it goes check check on the turn, because I think my opponent could easily have pocket sixes or ace king and just never fold. But when he bets again, I'm probably going to fold most of the time. These guys are both very tight, so I'll go ahead and raise from the button with nothing. Anytime the blinds are relatively tight, it's fine to raise with pretty much any two cards. Of course, the guy in the big blind is a supernova, and supernovas are going to be less inclined to fold than non-supernovas. A supernova means that he plays a lot. So if he's playing a lot, then he knows that he has to defend some. So yeah. Anyways, I don't really have much else to report. All in all, I'm very happy with my progress. Prior to this trip, I had a few sessions with Elliot Rowe, who is a mindset coach. I think he's been pretty helpful. One of the main things we were working on was me finding folds in spots where I kind of know I need to fold, but at the same time I would just call, sort of citing it as being a cooler. Like today was a perfect example of that, where I had the nut flush, right? And then they put the jack up there, and is it really possible my opponent has queens, jacks, or queen jack? And it's pretty hard. This guy's shoving here. I think it's pretty easy fold. We're not getting nearly good enough odds to call. This is that same spot as... Oh wait, this is a different spot. Similar spot, but I'm still just going to raise this. You could fold if you feel like it. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, so this is that hand where I had the nut flush is a spot where in the past I would pretty much always call off, I think, just because it's really hard for my opponent to have the nuts there. But I could just look and tell. The guy was super excited. And then he told me later that he had pocket queens. And that's sweet to know that I cashed for 9,000 euros in a spot where in the past I would have just busted every time. So, you know, if you can sort of master yourself and your own tendencies, you're going to do much better in the long run. So do I bet this river? This guy, I think this guy, he probably has an 8 a lot of the time. He's probably not going to fold. It's unfortunate whenever he has a 4, but as you see, he does have an 8, and he's just not going to fold in that spot on the river, even though the straight got there. Notice there was a 4-card straight. People aren't folding on that river online. I don't even think they're folding live too often at this point anymore. Facing this under the gun raise, we only have 19 hands on the guy. He seems pretty tight. If this guy had these stats over like 500 hands, I think I would just fold the ace queen. But with these stats, I think I just need to shove. I don't think there's really much of a better play. But I expect to get called a ton in that scenario. Right here, I don't expect him to fold very often, and he does have pocket 7s. So, not shocking. All right, so I guess that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you like these, what is this thing called? A video blog with online poker as well, let me know. I mean, I'm more than happy to play a little bit of online poker, especially whenever it makes sense, whenever I'm out of the country, when I do my video blogs. Otherwise, I'll just be doing it from the street outside somewhere. Yeah, so I'll probably do one more update from Prague. If I don't, probably means nothing really happened. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.